Alright, it's finally time to make this video. Today we're going to be discussing Kimi To Tsuzuru Utakata, aka The Summer You Were There, or aka The Summer You Were Here, or aka The Summer You Subscribed to my channel, or okay, I'm done. The Summer You Were Here is a story about self-redemption, self-forgiveness, and ultimately departure. It takes a step into the cruel sanctuary we know as the real world, and although we're reading a manga, it feels like we're almost peering into a direct reflection of our own world. That may be an overstatement, but I truly felt as if the series tried not to beat around the bush too much and tried to stay on a relatively grounded path. Our story is told from the perspective of Shizuku Hoshikawa, a high school girl who's ready to give up her passion of becoming an author after being met with rejection across the internet. On her way to toss the rest of her novels into the trash, she runs into a fellow student by the name of Asuka Kaori, who, for no apparent reason, ends up taking Shizuku's novels that she herself had been attempting to throw away, claiming that she'll bring it back tomorrow. One thing to note about Shizuku Hoshikawa is right now in the story, she is a very disoriented individual. She struggles with accepting herself after events that we will uncover later on. So she's a very anxious person at this point in the story. So Shizuku, being this anxious figure, does not respond to this positively. These works were met with rejection, so in her eyes, these works were terrible. It didn't matter if she liked it. The majority didn't, so the work was horrible, which was why she feared Kaori's reaction to them. So this internet rejection, as Shizuku faced, has left a permanent impression on her character and even goes as far as to interfere with her in the real world. The work that she loved and was so confident about was completely rejected. Being rejected by the world is no easy obstacle to ever overcome. You'll often be left in shambles or just a fragment of who you previously were as a person, depending on the extent of your rejection. We see this reflected through Shizuku Hoshikawa, and this is only a fraction of what we've seen so far. The following day, Kaori Asuka returns Shizuku's work, but before she can state her opinions, Shizuku lashes out in an act of self-defense. She believes that since the mass majority didn't view her work positively, it is complete trash with no value, hence her acting like this before Kaori can speak. She's become unable to love her work for what it is since others couldn't either, and ultimately settled on permanently getting rid of it. And right after Shizuku finishes speaking, Kaori says the opposite. Kaori is part of the minority that loves Shizuku's work for what it is, and with a cheerful expression on her face, she professes her love for the work that Shizuku has put into the world. Kaori, unlike the people of the internet, was able to see the story for what it was and see how much effort was put into it, and even see the person behind the work and give a genuine opinion on it. And without Kaori even taking into account, she had changed Shizuku's sentiment towards her work that she herself had deemed as a failure, and gave hope once again to the once lost character, Shizuku Hoshikawa, for the first time. After these events, Kaori asks Shizuku if she'll create any other works, and Shizuku, who is on the verge of giving up her passion, simply says that she doesn't plan on writing anything else. This leads to Kaori pleading with her to continue writing, to which Shizuku says that she doesn't have anything else to write about. Kaori decides to take it one step further and tells Shizuku that they should start going out and write a story centered around their love life. Shizuku couldn't accept this as it was spewed onto her quite randomly, which results in them living a fake love life instead of a real one. During the beginning of the summer, Shizuku was still caught up in the events that happened previously. She still didn't understand Kaori as a person, and she still didn't even understand if Kaori was lying to her. And it's here for the first time that we really get a glimpse of Shizuku's true nature as a person. She thinks about everything with a pessimistic mindset, and she also prioritizes keeping herself in check, making sure not to overstep her boundaries and accidentally hurt someone again. Speaking of accidentally hurting someone, to get a further glimpse of Shizuku's character, let's skip ahead some chapters and view what happened during her childhood. Precisely to chapter 6. In chapter 6, we learn that Shizuku previously used to bully her friends as a child. This type of thing isn't as uncommon as we believe it to be, because children are insensitive, and in other words, they are very ignorant towards the world and the feelings of others on a level of understanding. At the time, Shizuku was a child who always spoke before thinking. Every time she'd say something even slightly insensitive towards someone, she'd think nothing of it. However, before she knew it, before she realized what she had been doing, it was far too late. Skip forward one more chapter, And we also learn that the girl Shizuku had been bullying goes by the name of Ruri-chan. Ruri-chan was always absent from class due to medical conditions that limited her time outside of the hospital. However, a young and dumb Shizuku who couldn't even comprehend her own words wouldn't be able to comprehend those of others. Unintentionally, she spewed a lot of hateful words towards Ruri-chan, and eventually, words turned into actions. It escalated to a point where young Shizuku would have to take a bite into reality. What she had been doing to Ruri-chan was bullying her, and it was nothing to laugh about. From that day onwards, Shizuku limited how much she'd speak as not to hurt someone again, and genuinely tried to grow from this event. However, upon entering high school, she grows quite stagnant in terms of development, almost as if she had given up, which we know was the case because prior to all of these events with the series, Shizuku was trying to kill herself. After Kaori learns about Shizuku's past, which she had already been aware of this whole time, Shizuku runs away and isolates herself away from the world, drowning in her own thoughts the same way in which we were first introduced to her. However, Kaori did not give up on her, and after a while, Shizuku realizes that she needs to confront Kaori and stop running away from her. She needs to stop running away from her problems as a whole if she's ever going to move on. Once Shizuku and Kaori meet face to face again, Kaori once again tells Shizuku that she loves her novels, and that she also felt like Shizuku's novels were suicide notes of sorts. This led her to believe that Shizuku was still stuck on the events that transpired in 5th grade, and by her own means, she wanted to help Shizuku in any way that she could. Hence, her even interacting with Shizuku to begin with. Kaori also affirmed Shizuku. She lets Shizuku know that it's okay if she hurts someone again. Forgive and be forgiven. She also encourages Shizuku to forgive her younger self, even if just a little bit. And if it gets too difficult for her, she can lean on Kaori for help. It's at this point where Kaori becomes a very important side character, because she's now Shizuku's support that she can lean on. Best comparison, this would be like Shimamura's Adachi. Kaori would be Shimamura's Adachi. And at this point, this also symbolizes a new beginning for both characters. Kaori was not a stranger to Shizuku. She knew what had happened and knew that Shizuku was still suffering from the events that happened in the past. And even so, she took it into her own hands to try and heal Shizuku in any way that she could. Kaori really represents a beacon of light in this story full of darkness. She becomes Shizuku's motivation and drive. If anyone would offer her a helping hand, it would most certainly be Kaori before anyone else. Taking Kaori's words into account, Shizuku decides that she should try apologizing to Ruri for everything that happened when they were younger. And by Kaori's advice, she attempts to write Ruri a letter. Initially, this doesn't work as Ruri-chan is still scared of Shizuku, but as the story progresses, Ruri takes steps towards Shizuku as she wants to believe that she's different, as she believes that she's matured as a person. However, as things begin looking better for Shizuku, we're introduced to one of the biggest plot twists that I really did not expect. We learn that Kaori is sick. She's been sick since the start of the story, and she's been putting on a front to keep worry away from Shizuku and everyone else around her. Over the recent couple of chapters, Kaori's sickness increases further and further to the point where they may have to consider the worst case scenario. Shizuku, upon realizing this, needs to finish the novel about her love life with Kaori that they started making earlier. And also because Kaori's final wish is to see Shizuku's novel finished. She needs to make sure that Kaori sees it before anything can happen to her. So after leaving the hospital where Kaori is being kept, she goes home, finishes the novel, and sends it to Kaori. And after Kaori took a while to respond, Shizuku once again falls into a state of overthinking, this pessimistic mindset that she hasn't managed to get over yet. She wonders if Kaori is even still alive in the hospital, and how she's doing. But eventually, Kaori marks the message as read. In the end of Shizuku's novel, she told Kaori, "I love you," as the final message, to which Kaori, after reading the novel, messaged Shizuku, "Me too," almost as if indirectly saying a farewell. And the following day, Shizuku awoke to the sound of her alarm clock and the news of Kaori passing away. In the next couple of chapters, we see Shizuku at the lowest point she's ever been. After the death of Kaori, she shut herself in, and ultimately it came up to Rui and her friend to save Shizuku. Since Shizuku had holed herself up in her room, she completely missed Kaori's funeral, not being able to bring herself to see it. So since she didn't have time to pay respects, Ichihara Seri Rui's friend, takes Shizuku to Kaori's house to pay her respects there. When she arrives at Kaori's house, her sister gives her Kaori's diary, and Kaori's diary had been dictating everything that had happened since meeting Shizuku, starting from the very beginning all the way to the very end. And at the very beginning, we learn something that really adds a twist to this story. As stated earlier, Kaori had been sick since the start. However, while Kaori was sick in the hospital and when she was giving up, she found a novel that she really loved. A novel that gave her the strength to keep going. A novel that felt like she had related to something. And this novel was none other than Shizuku's novel. And when she found this out and found out that the person who literally saved her and gave her motivation to keep on going was going through so much, she couldn't bring herself to sit back and do nothing, so she had to help Shizuku. And towards the end of the note, Kaori, who has been deceased for a little bit now, leaves some requests for Shizuku, and in these requests, she states that Shizuku should not let her death send her on a downward spiral. Shizuku must be happy and live on until she becomes old, and she also doesn't want Shizuku to forget about her. And finally, reciprocating her feelings from Shizuku's novel, Kaori, for the first time, says, "I love you too," and that is her final message. The death of Kaori strikes two things in Shizuku. For one, it strikes sadness. At first, Shizuku couldn't accept it. If she did accept it, that Kaori wasn't there anymore, then the mental image that Shizuku had of Kaori within her mind would disappear along with her. And Kaori also strikes another change in Shizuku. She forces Shizuku to move forward regardless if she doesn't want to or not. With Kaori's wishes resting on her shoulder, she can't do the same thing that she's always done. She literally has no choice but to keep going and become a better version of herself. Shizuku learns that she has to face reality, and in the final page, Shizuku enters class, and this time, instead of avoiding everyone, she decides to meet people. She decides to interact with people and start her life off differently. She begins her act of self-redemption, and she begins her act of maturing and growing as a person from here onwards. All thanks to Kaori and the summer that she was there with Shizuku. The Summer You Were Here is a bittersweet story about love that can't be requited, miracles that won't happen, and facing reality for what it is. The Summer You Were Here is a powerful series that takes elements from A Silent Voice and Your Lie in April and truly has left quite the impression on me. The fact that we were informed about what this series would entail from the title, yet continue reading, is absolutely remarkable to me. We knew something to the extent of Kaori's death would happen, so when it did happen, we had no choice but to write it off as the inevitable, in the same way that Shizuku had to as well. We knew death would be in the story, yet that didn't change our perspective on it, or how much we enjoyed it. We willingly walked into this and enjoyed it and learned from it. It's truly one of those series that'll have you thinking for a bit, but I'm glad that I indulged in it. Keeping up with this series while literally sitting on the edge of my chair was a great experience, so I recommend you all to watch it as well if you haven't already. I tried to keep this video at least halfway spoiler free for the most part, so I think you guys should take a crack at it. Before I end this video, something very important to mention: Kimi To Tsuzuru Utakata, or The Summer You Were Here, has been nominated in AnimeJapan's Manga We Want to See Animated ranking of 2024, so if you guys do end up enjoying this series, or you guys already saw it and you enjoyed it, please do be sure to vote for it. It is in Japanese, so instructions for voting will be in the description and comments along with links, so do be sure to check those out. This video was the product of weeks worth of work, so the script changes around a lot, and I apologize if there's any inconsistencies in this video. Yeah, this video took me a very long time to write the script. It took a very long time to compile. And ultimately, I'm not even sure if the video was good or not, but I feel like it's better to try to get it out now than, keep working on it forever, because I also have other things that I need to work on as well. Thank you guys very much if you made it this far, and I really do appreciate you guys for watching. If you're new to my channel and this is the first video you've seen by me, please do be sure to subscribe, as I do intend to post more content like this, and I'll see all you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed this video.